This is a story about two obvious cases of conflicts of interest. Democratic Senator Debbie Stabenow is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry, and Republican House Representative Howard McKean is the chairman of the House Committee on Armed Services. Both these politicians receive large sums of money from the industries that they oversee. Senator Debbie Stabenow has received $424,000 in donations from agribusiness in 2011 through 12. Now you might think that doesn't prove that she protects them, but in October 2011, the Senate voted to end farm subsidies for millionaires. The bill would lower the $1.2 million cap to qualify for subsidies. It passed the Senate with 84 yes votes. You think being a Democrat, Debbie would applaud the bill that would raise taxes on wealthy farmers by ending their tax subsidies. But she voted no and pleaded with senators to reject the bill. So, who do you think she represents? You or the agribusiness? Which, by the way, don't need the subsidies because they are bigger and more profitable than they used to be, and they can sell at an artificially lower price on the world market, which causes developing countries to suffer economically. House Representative Howard McKean has received $386,000 in donation from the defense industry in 2011 through 12. He is the top recipient from that sector. This guy is very verbal in his opposition to any form of military cuts. In an Associated Press article, he says the Super Committee's automatic cuts to defense would start another draft. In a Fox News interview, he said, and I quote, "We also need to understand what it's going to mean to keep an all-volunteer force. Do we want to reinstitute a draft? Some of the cuts we're talking about would take over 200,000 out." However, Joe Wilson, the chairman of the Armed Service Personnel Subcommittee, said that the draft would be unnecessary. In a Washington Post article covering a speech McKean gave at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, he goes on to criticize defense cuts and Afghanistan withdrawal. He says, and I quote, "Overall, we're doing well. We're making good progress. The problem I see is that the media, they don't focus on the good things that happen. They only focus on the negative." He goes on in the article freaking out about the prospect of automatic cuts to defense that would take place if the Super Committee doesn't do anything. He also supports the Paul Ryan budget because it would replace defense cuts with cuts to domestic spending. McKean has proposed cutting the federal workforce instead of defense. However, in an LA Times article, he urges Northrop workers to protest military cuts because it would cut jobs. But let's be honest, if he cared about jobs, why would he cut federal employment? He doesn't give a damn about jobs. He just wants to protect the defense contractors who fund his political campaigns. And did you know that out of all the money spent in the world on defense, that the U.S. spends 43% of that money? And if you were to cut our defense budget in half, we would still only spend twice the amount that China does, and they're the second highest military spender in the world. You see why we can't get anything done until we get money out of politics? Two politicians, both Republican and Democrat, who get money from the sectors they oversee, in a bipartisan effort to do their donors' bidding. This is just a small fraction of how our system works, and it won't change until we get special interests out of the way.